These pages hold my quiet cries, the words I hid behind my eyes, to queens and ghosts and younger me. I write to set the silence free. Letters I never sent, wounds I never meant, stories locked in tear-stained ink, on the edge where hope and heartbreak link. Each line a step, each word a key to find the self they couldn't see.
There's always that one person, isn't there? The one person who seems to move through life like they were born knowing the steps to a dance you never quite learned. They speak, and people lean in. They laugh, and the room lights up. They make it look so easy. Being liked, being wanted, being enough. It's not just that they try to make you feel small. They just exist. And somehow, in the quiet comparison you didn't mean to make, you begin to wonder if you're the problem. For me, that person was Alice. Not just Wonderland Alice, though. Let's be real. Even in the story, she carried this strange kind of grace, even in her confusion. But I mean the real-life Alices. The ones I knew growing up. The ones who walked into a room and didn't shrink. The ones teachers adored. The ones who didn't have to ask twice to be chosen. The ones who, even when they were lost, still looked like they had it together. I remember watching them, studying them, trying to decode their magic, thinking maybe if I copied their words, their outfits, their quiet confidence, I'd unlock the part of me that always felt like too much or not enough, sometimes both at once. And I'll be honest with you, this episode is vulnerable. It's tender in ways that sting a little because it's about longing. It's about envy. It's about those messy, uncomfortable feelings we're not supposed to admit, especially if we're healing. Especially if we're, quote, doing the work. But here's the thing I've learned. Healing gets louder when we silence our truth. And sometimes the most radical thing that we can do is tell the truth anyways. So today, I'm sharing a letter I've never sent. The letter I wrote to the girl I compared myself to. The girl who, in my eyes, got it right while I still fumbled for a script. The girl who, in my story, became a mirror I didn't know how to love myself through. This is a letter to Alice because sometimes the deepest healing begins when we finally give voice to the part of us that wanted to be someone else. And maybe when we stop wishing we were someone else, we make room to finally become who we are. Let me read it to you. Dear Alice, I wish I was you. There, I said it. I've whispered that sentence in the quiet corners of my mind more times than I can count. Sometimes like a confession, sometimes like a prayer, sometimes like a curse, but today I'm saying it out loud, not to hurt myself, not to hate myself, but because honesty is the only way I know how to heal now. I wish I was you. I spent so long pretending that I didn't care, pretending you didn't affect me. I wore indifference like armor, shrugged, laughed it off, said things like, I'm not like her and that's fine, but the truth is you did affect me. You still do. Maybe more than anyone else ever has. You walked into the room and people noticed, not because you demanded it, not because you tried, but because you carried something in what whispered, I belong. And people listened. Presence was magnetic, gentle but grounded, like the room rearranged itself slightly to accommodate you, as if it had always been waiting for you to arrive. And me? I watched from the corner. I took notes silently and visibly. I studied the way you carried your coffee cup, the way you laughed with your whole face, the way you didn't seem to apologize for simply existing. You moved through the world like it had already made room for you. I, on the other hand, shrank. I twisted myself into smaller and smaller shapes, trying not to take up too much space, trying to be easy, quiet, manageable, hoping that if I just shrunk enough, the ache inside me, the one that told me I was too much and still not enough, would just disappear. It never did. I wanted to be you just because you looked like the answer to everything I hated about myself. Your voice didn't tremble, your hands didn't fidget, your smile didn't falter, and even when you were unsure, you didn't wear your fear like a billboard the way I did. You were everything I thought I needed to become in order to be chosen, loved, and accepted. You didn't flinch when people looked at you. I flinched when I looked in the mirror. You didn't stumble through every sentence, second-guessing your tone, your word choice, your worth. I turned every syllable over in my mouth like a stone, worried it would cut me if I spoke it wrong. You weren't afraid to ask for help, to need things. I taught myself to be silent, to need nothing because I thought needing made me a burden. I wanted your confidence, your glow, your ease. I wanted to unzip my skin, step out of my life, and try yours on for a day, just to see what it felt like to not carry this constant ache. This feeling of being fundamentally off like a puzzle piece that doesn't fit anywhere. But I have to admit something now, something it's taken me years to even begin to understand. What I saw in you was real, but the story I told myself about it, that was mine. I created a fantasy around you, not to hurt you and not even to elevate you, but because I was hurting, and I needed somewhere to project the version of me I thought the world would finally love. I didn't know your pain, I didn't ask, I never even gave myself permission to imagine that your smile had shadows behind it. I didn't want to believe that you struggled too, because if you did, then what excuse did I have? I envied you, Alice. But the truth is, I never really knew you. I only knew the version of you I created, the girl I thought I had to be to survive, to be worthy. The version I placed on a pedestal because it helped me survive, it helped me give my pain a name, it helped me pretend that if I just worked trying to become you, I abandoned myself. I silenced my voice trying to mimic yours. I brushed over my grief trying to match your brightness. I compared every inch of myself to your silhouette and always came up short. And I'm tired, Alice. I'm so tired. Tired of believing that my softness is a weakness. Tired of thinking my awkwardness is a flaw. Tired of chasing a reflection that was never mine to begin with. I'm tired of running from myself. So this is me finally sitting with the truth. You were never the enemy. My pain was. My shame was. My fear was. And maybe you weren't perfect either. Maybe you were just surviving differently. Maybe you were hiding things I never saw. Maybe you were looking at me and wondering how I made it through. And maybe the thing I admired most in you, that spark, that light, maybe it wasn't yours alone. Maybe it was a reminder of what I had in me all along. Buried beneath the stories, beneath the silence, beneath the belief that I had to be anyone other than who I am. So this letter, it's not really about you anymore, it's about me. It's about the girl who stopped believing in her own magic because she was too busy trying to learn someone else's. It's about the girl who finally is ready to forgive herself for all the years she spent wishing she could be different, be better, be someone else entirely. It's about starting over, not with shame, but with softness. Alice, thank you for being the mirror, even when it hurt to look. Thank you for showing me the story I needed to rewrite. And no, I don't wish to be you anymore. I just wish to be free. With compassion. Me. Reading that still hits something tender in me. Because jealousy, that longing to be someone else, is just usually born from grief. Grief who we didn't get to be. Grief over what we thought we had to become. And when that grief festers, it can turn into shame. We start believing that our pain is proof of failure, that our softness is weakness, that our difference makes us unworthy. But that's not true. I used to think envy meant I was a bad person, but now I understand envy is a flashlight. It shows us what we yearn for, what we believe is out of reach, and when we look closer, it can show us what we've denied ourselves. For me, it wasn't really about wanting to be Alice. It was about wanting to feel seen, wanting to move through the world without apologizing for my existence, wanting to be enough exactly how as I am. That's what Alice represented, and that's what I'm learning to claim for myself. Because healing isn't about becoming better. It's about honoring the truth of who we already are, even if it's messy, even if it's loud, even if it doesn't fit someone else's mold. When I stop chasing other people's reflection, I start to see my own more clearly. And it's beautiful. Not because it's perfect, but because it's mine. If you've ever looked at someone else and thought, I wish I was you, you're not alone. But let this be your reminder. The parts of them you admire may already be alive in you, just waiting for your permission to exist. Instead of wishing to be someone else, maybe we can start wishing to return to ourselves with gentleness, with curiosity, and with love. Thank you for joining me in this space. Thank you for letting me read this letter out loud. Thank you for being on this journey through this hurt and hope. Until next time, take care of the version of you that you are still becoming. She or he is worthy. She or he is enough. And she or he is real. This has been Series 7 Unlocked Letters. See you next time.